She Who Roared for Mercy. Chapter 7. The Enemy Beneath the City. The tremor lasted only 3 seconds. 3 seconds was not long. But BJ felt it. He stood beside Lake Michigan, watching the sunrise spread across Chicago. People were beginning to move again. Emergency vehicles were leaving. Military aircraft were returning to their bases. The enormous creatures that had gathered during the night were disappearing into the distance. For the first time since She Who Roared for Mercy had arrived, Chicago appeared peaceful. But B.J. Mayfield knew better. He looked toward the ground. That wasn't the lake, was it? She Who Roared for Mercy lowered her head. No. B.J. turned toward her. You felt it too. She nodded. Something beneath us. B.J. looked toward Chicago. How far beneath us? She remained silent. How deep? Her answer came slowly. Deep enough that I cannot hear its complete words. B.J.'s expression changed. Then you don't know what it is. No. B.J. looked toward the city. That's not comforting. She gave a quiet rumble. B.J. smiled. I know. The second tremor came several minutes later. This one was stronger. Buildings shook. Streetlights moved. People stopped walking. A crack appeared along a section of pavement near the shoreline. Police immediately blocked the area. Scientists rushed toward the location. B.J. watched them. A researcher knelt beside the crack. This isn't normal seismic activity. Another researcher looked at the equipment. You're right. What are we detecting? The researcher stared at the screen. Movement. B.J. stepped closer. Movement from what? The researcher looked up. We don't know. B.J. looked toward She Who Roared for Mercy. She was staring at the crack. B.J. walked toward her. What do you hear? She listened. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then her expression changed. B.J. noticed immediately. What? She whispered through a low roar. Something is calling. B.J.'s heart sank. Calling who? She looked toward the lake. All of us. Across Chicago, enormous creatures began reacting. One lifted its head. Another stopped moving. A third emerged from the lake. Even creatures that had traveled far away suddenly turned back toward the city. B.J. realized that the signal was reaching them. Whatever was beneath Chicago was not simply waking up. It was communicating. And the message was powerful enough to reach every creature that had heard She Who Roared for Mercy. B.J. looked toward the military commander. How long before you can evacuate the affected areas? The commander answered. We can begin immediately. Do it. Are you expecting an attack? B.J. looked toward the ground. Yes, sir. The commander nodded. Then we're moving. B.J. turned toward She Who Roared for Mercy. Can you help? She nodded. I will protect them. B.J. smiled. I know you will. The evacuation began. People were moved away from the shoreline. Emergency shelters opened. Police officers directed traffic. Firefighters assisted families. Volunteers helped elderly residents. The city of Chicago, as it does very well in these types of situations, responded as a unit quickly. But the creatures were beginning to gather again. B.J. stood between humanity and the enormous beings. He raised his voice. Everyone remain calm. A creature roared. B.J. listened. What? It answered. The one beneath the city is awakening. B.J. looked toward the ground. Do you know it? The creature lowered its head. We fear it. B.J. nodded. Why? The creature's response was chilling. Because it does not want peace. B.J. looked toward She Who Roared for Mercy. She nodded. It wants obedience. BJ understood. This was going to be different. The creatures who had gathered earlier wanted territory. Some wanted protection. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted recognition. But whatever was beneath Chicago wanted control. BJ looked toward the city. Then this isn't about winning. She looked at him. No. BJ nodded. It's about refusing to surrender. The third tremor struck. This time, the ground split. A section of pavement collapsed. People screamed. Dust rose into the air. The military immediately moved into defensive positions. BJ watched the opening. Something moved below. He could hear it. A voice. Very faint. Very deep. Almost impossible to understand. BJ closed his eyes. He listened. You. BJ opened his eyes. The voice came again. You are the one who listens. BJ stepped closer. She who roared for mercy moved beside him. The voice continued. Come below. BJ shook his head. No. The ground trembled. You will come. BJ answered. No. The voice became louder. You do not understand what is beneath you. BJ looked toward the crack. Then tell me. Silence. BJ waited. The voice finally answered. I am what your creatures fear. BJ looked toward she who roared for mercy. She was trembling. BJ realized something. She was not afraid of the creature itself. She was afraid of what it represented. A force that had controlled others through fear. A force that had turned creatures against one another. A force that had convinced them that domination was the only path to survival. BJ spoke carefully. You've been controlling them. The voice answered. I gave them order. BJ shook his head. No. The voice became angry. I gave them survival. BJ answered. You gave them fear. The ground shook violently. She who roared for mercy stepped between BJ and the opening. BJ placed his hand against her. It's okay. She looked down. BJ whispered. Don't fight it yet. She hesitated. Then she stepped back. The voice spoke again. You believe that mercy will save them. BJ answered. Mercy is not mine to give to everyone. The voice became silent. BJ continued. But I can choose how I respond. The creature laughed. The sound traveled beneath the city. You are weak. BJ shook his head. No. You are afraid. BJ nodded. Yes. The voice seemed surprised. BJ continued. I am afraid. He looked toward she who roared for mercy. She's afraid too. Then he looked toward the creatures. So are they. He looked toward Chicago. And so are the people. The voice remained silent. BJ took a breath. But being afraid doesn't mean that fear gets to make our decisions. She who roared for mercy stepped forward. Her roar shook the city. But BJ understood every word. You cannot command us. The creature beneath the city answered. You will obey. She roared again. No. The creature became angry. You are nothing. She answered. I know what I am. BJ looked at her. She continued. I am not your servant. And neither are my friends. The enormous creatures around Chicago began responding. One by one, they raised their heads. Another roar. Then another. Then another. The sound became overwhelming. But BJ heard the message clearly. No. The creatures were refusing. Not attacking. Not destroying. Refusing. The power beneath the city had expected fear. Instead, it found unity. BJ looked toward the military commander. Do not attack. The commander hesitated. Even now. Especially now. BJ pointed toward the creatures. They're standing together. The commander looked toward the enormous beings. They were not attacking the city. They were surrounding it, protecting it. BJ continued. This is their revelation moment. If we attack them now, we may destroy the very alliance that we've spent all night building. The commander nodded. Understood. Then BJ looked toward the crack. Now we need to find another way. Scientists began studying the underground movement. The information came quickly. There is a massive cavity beneath the city. BJ frowned. How massive? The scientist looked at him. We don't know. Another researcher interrupted. We're detecting tunnels. BJ's expression changed. Tunnels. Natural, perhaps, or. The researcher hesitated. Something may have created them. BJ looked toward she who roared for mercy. She was listening. Her eyes widened. BJ asked, "What do you remember?" She answered, "It has been beneath Chicago for a long time." BJ looked at the scientist. How long? The researcher stared at the readings. We're talking about something that may have been there long before the city existed. BJ slowly nodded. Then this story goes deeper than we thought. That evening, BJ returned to the shoreline. The city had settled down. The creatures remained nearby. No one attacked. No one demanded surrender. But nobody relaxed completely either. BJ understood why. Peace was real. But danger was real too. She who roared for mercy stood beside him. BJ looked toward the water. Do you think that we can stop it? She roared honestly. I don't know. BJ nodded. Neither do I. She looked at him. Are you afraid? BJ smiled. Yes. She looked surprised. BJ continued. But I'm still here. She lowered her head. BJ placed his hand against her scales. That's what courage is. For several seconds, they stood quietly. Then BJ heard something. Not from beneath the city. Not from the creatures. Something inside himself. A reminder. He thought about 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. BJ took a deep breath. Power. Love. A sound mind. That was what he needed. That is what everyone needed. Not anger. Not panic. Not revenge. Wisdom. Then, she who roared for mercy suddenly looked toward him. BJ noticed. What? She whispered, it knows your name. BJ froze. What? The ground beneath Chicago trembled. The voice returned. But this time, it did not speak to the creatures. It spoke directly to BJ. BJ Mayfield. BJ stared at the ground. The voice continued. I have been listening to you. BJ's heart began beating faster. You believe you can teach them mercy. A pause. Now I will teach you fear. The ground split open several blocks away. A massive roar erupted from beneath Chicago. People screamed. The creatures turned toward the sound. She who roared for mercy stepped forward. BJ raised his hand. Wait. She stopped. BJ looked toward the opening. He could hear something coming. Something enormous. Something ancient. Something that had been waiting beneath Chicago long before anyone knew it existed. BJ whispered. This time. He looked toward she who roared for mercy. We're going to need everyone. She nodded. And across Chicago, every creature that had chosen peace turned toward the same place. The city had become their home. And now, Something beneath it wanted to take it away. The next battle would not be fought over territory. It would be fought over freedom. And B.J. Mayfield was about to discover that the greatest enemy was not always the creature with the greatest strength. Sometimes, the greatest enemy was the one who convinced everyone else that they were powerless.